Click the links to support the vitally important work I do. By supporting me, you are indirectly supporting sex workers and Bolivian farmers. I wanted to draw my line in the sand and make my prediction. Mark my words, the SJWs in comics will double down. They are never going to admit their wrongdoing because to do so causes the whole sweater to unravel. Comics are going digital, and I've talked to a few people who think that there is no way for comics to continue. The SJWs in comics will never admit their mistakes because it is a start to unraveling the sweater. They have this house of cards built on socialism, misandry, anti-Euro racism, anti-family, globalism, feminism, birth control, open borders, the welfare state, single moms, fomenting hatred between tribes, media, Hollywood, and worshiping the false idols of celebrities. I know this all sounds a bit flat earth, tinfoil hat, but if you want to prove it to yourself, get on Twitter, follow the media, the people who work in media, the people who control the media, control the narrative. Follow 500 accounts for 6 months. You will be black, honk, and red-pilled, or you'll be pulling a Charlie Hebdo somewhere. For a Gail Simone to admit that misandry and anti-Euro racism doesn't sell books means that she has to accept that that is what she is doing. It is a splash of cold water in her face. Yes, she is a hateful, bigoted, racist person. Most SJWs are. Dan Slott, Mark Waid, Lehman, Wellman, Maggs, G. Willow Wilson. These are the most vile and hateful, mentally deranged people you will ever come across. And they control the industry. They have created such a toxic environment that ComicsGate had to create its own industry. They literally will not welcome Republicans into the industry. What their only option is to not exactly deny that they are misandrous and racist, but that the words don't exist when applied to them. Words refer to concepts, and language evolves slowly as conditions change. SJWs argue from emotion, not logic. If you talk about misandry or anti-Euroism, they will say, that's like not a thing? They're denying that the words apply to the concepts when they use them. This gives them godlike powers. It's pure Orwell. We were always at war with Oceania. They deny the existence of these things they are doing. They're trying to deny causality, cause and effect. They are desperate to change definitions, but that isn't how language works. Language evolves through changing conditions, and it's slow. Marxists will literally attempt to change definitions overnight. You can simply trace this newspeak back to a single source from a Marxist professor. They seem to forget if they can arbitrarily change definitions, then someone else may arbitrarily also change those definitions. You have created a language environment where people do not agree on words. They have created homonyms, words that sound alike but have different meanings. Racism just means disparagement based on immutable characteristics of race. It's a universal term that applies to everyone, but Marxist professors try to change its definition, which is an impossible task. Even if they magically disappeared the word, another word would pop up that refers to the same concept, because the concept exists. You can ban words through the use of force, Room 101 in Orwell's 1984, but it's almost an impossible task to eliminate concepts, even with brainwashing. When you argue from emotions, not logic, then anything is on the table, because you are no longer living in a causal universe. If people have words referring to different concepts, then they are no longer speaking the same language. Why are you racist against Europeans? Oh, that's not a thing. Okay, so why are you Europhobic? Why do you hate them? Oh, that's not a thing either. But it clearly is. It's a word that relates to a concept. Yes, that is the definition of a thing. They are literally trying to deny reality. It's as if when they close their eyes, the universe ceases to exist. At this point, they have to admit that, yes, they hate men and the people of the light, or continue to deny it, which means there is no point in continuing discourse. You're at a point where you apply their behavior to a Turk, Irishman, and Englishman, and they change the meaning between uses. This is a child's understanding of language. It's Levi, Lenin, Engels, and Stalin. Words mean what the state tells you they mean, and they enforce the definitions by torture in the gulag. In fact, comic book pros are so brainwashed by hatred that an alternative industry was created. You had a market that wanted hatred-free comics. The mainstream comics only sold hateful comics. So Richard C. Meyer said, "I will sell you hate-free comics." That's all it took to give birth to ComicsGate, which of course terrified the mainstream. The smart ones saw the writing on the wall and started to think about exit strategies. They started to consider crowdfunding. Unfortunately, many SJWs have burned their bridges in crowdfunding. B. Claymore is a famous one. Big Hawaiian Dick is 5 years late. They tried to tear down ComicsGate because they knew it was valid competition. It looks like ComicsGate is going to have the last laugh. More and more pros are getting the pencils down message. Even G.I. Joe is on hiatus. Some of these pros are going to jump on Kickstarter. Ron Mars has a project out. His goal is $7,500, which he will reach, but it was going to fail before Kickstarter allowed him a week extension due to the Wu Flu Boogaloo. It's now projected to hit $7,600. My question is, why isn't it hitting $75,000? Why are SJW Comics doing so poorly? They have so much support on Twitter and Facebook. Why aren't their fans actually buying product? For some wacky reason, Twitter and Facebook subs do not translate into sales, while ComicsGate on YouTube definitely equals sales. I assume... Oh, I wanted to look at Perigrine. Remind me to do that when I get to the end of this video. I assume more SJWs will transition to YouTube. Gail Simone is on there, and Drink and Draw. Both shows are Nasser level bad. Just as boring as watching someone eat in their car. No wonder Nasser has me blocked. The thing with YouTube is that you have to entertain, inform, or be sexy. Thank God I'm all three. SJWs can't do this because it's very rare that someone with a far-left agenda can be funny. People are tired of hearing about Blonde Man Bad. We were tired of it 5 years ago. I just can't imagine Mark Waid having a YouTube show, or Jay Farber. They would talk about how much they hate European people, which sort of limits your audience. Even something as innocuous as crapping on Star Wars is not allowed, Disney Star Wars, because the left has already decided that only right people don't like it. So they have to lie and pretend that they like it or avoid the topic. The problem, and I would love to hear somebody say they liked The Last Jedi, or what was the, I don't even remember the third. What was the third Disney? The Rise of Skywalker? Was that worse than The Last Jedi? It might have been. It might have been. The problem is that there are tons of issues like this. The left operates as a collective, while the right is a little bit more individual. There are some right-wing collectivists, the Crenshaw and the Kirks, the kind of the Israel First crowd, but thank God that Rhino stuff is being exposed for the cancer it is by the America First crowd, and by the, I don't know, this 22-year-old kid whose name probably can't even say on YouTube. His first name is Nick. I think the SJWs are in deep poop. Some of them know that the industry has, over the course of 2 weeks, died, and they are lashing out at ComicsGate. They hated us from the beginning. They have defamed us for years. They even pressured publishers not to work with us. They deserve everything that happens to them. I wanted to look at Perigrine, and I didn't forget. Umbrella Guy says, this is Larry Hama mocking a ComicsGate consumer at a convention because he'd unfriended and blocked the guy and they wanted to know why. Hama calls him a racist. The guy still wants to be friends, and Hama mocks that. F him, hashtag pencils down, let's stop pretending. Yeah, I know some people really worship these comic book artists and writers. I think you have to separate... I would say separate the art from the artist. That doesn't quite make sense. Well, you can still enjoy their old work. And, you know, it's always like never meet your... I don't want to say heroes, because I don't think anyone treated an artist as a hero, but... Like, I never wanted to know more about musicians and things like that, because I knew they were far left whack jobs. And the thing is, they're great musicians or artists, but they're not that bright. They don't have a nuanced take on things. So they're not willing to, like, see both sides of an issue and entertain the opponent's argument, where you'll find more people on the right who are willing to do that. Not everyone, though. Not enough people. Larry Hama says, one of them came up to me at a con and demanded to know why I unfriended and blocked him. And I told him I didn't want to see his racist shit on my feed. And he said, but we're still okay, right? Throw a Stray Toaster at Him by Rob Perry. Yeah, what happened to G.I. Joe? It's on a hiatus. So, Comic Artist Pro Secrets, our own Ethan Van Sciver, who I have actually read 3 death threats against him. The third was by what's-his-face, the Wellman guy, that Mike Wellman, I think, of Atomic Comics, which he's covered, and your boy Zach has already covered. That's just the 3rd death threat that I am aware of. The two other threats came from, I think, were like under 20, and they were just soy boys. And then I've personally read and screen captured a couple of threats against ComicsGate as a whole, where someone says, can't we just kill them or something? And it's like, it's a joke, but that's also called, I believe it's stochastic terrorism, when you put an idea out there and you're hoping that a nut job will latch onto it. And now one of those nut jobs, Mike Wellman, which is probably down here somewhere, I screen capped it. It's I think he's mentally ill, and so somebody like Rich Johnston writes these Bleeding Fool articles about Ethan Van Sciver's mean streak, which is, I think, the 2nd article he wrote on Ethan Van Sciver. He's trying to inspire terrorism. It's my belief he's trying to inspire terrorism against ComicsGate people, EVS in particular, because he's kind of the lightning post of it. And I believe there's correlation there and causation. Yes, this Wellman guy threatened to murder Ethan Van Sciver. And I don't think he's going to do any time for it or anything like that, because I think he's severely mentally ill. It's probably a case of he couldn't get medication for whatever. But a lot of these people, and he's in California, so, that's a slap on the wrist. A lot of these people, these anti-ComicsGaters, and I'm not talking about ex-ComicsGaters or OG ComicsGaters, I'm talking about anti-CG SJWs, they won't entertain the possibility of there being 2 sides to a story. That's why people on the right want equal time for dialogue, and people on the left want to deplatform, because they don't want their ideas exposed to the light of discourse, because they don't think they can defend their ideas, because it's hard to defend socialism, communism, that kind of thing. So a lot of these people, they realize that this guy just opened a comic book store like a month ago or something. That old industry, comics aren't going to die, but that old industry has changed radically. Things are different. There's going to be like the top 10% who's going to be just fine making whatever, the leading comics digitally, and those will still sell. Spider-Man, Batman, that kind of crap. The heroes in spandex. The top 10%, 20%, and they're going to be fine. Everyone else, which is, like thousands of people who work in comics, it's going to be either a part-time job for them, or it's just going to go on a long hiatus, because it might be 2 years before the vaccine comes out. Even if the vaccine comes out in 18 months, once those stores has shifted over to selling something else, well, they're not going to shift back to something that is not hugely profitable once they've already had 18 months of selling whatever else. So yeah, I think comics are in trouble. I think mainstream comics are in trouble, and I think ComicsGate is in a very good position to sell CG books, because the mailbox is your store. You're paying more for it, but you're not getting SJW hatred, this hatred against men, this hatred against the blonde-haired people. It's enough. Stuff was never selling that strongly to start with. The Wuhan, China thing is just the straw on the camel's back. It sped things up. It sped up 10 years and into the course of 2 weeks. Anyway, if you want to send me art for the channel, Bianca Zombie 602@gmail.com, or you can buy me a coffee on the coffee side, or PayPal, Patreon, whatever. Buy a t-shirt or Teespring. If you want to make a t-shirt, send me your art, and we will make a t-shirt and split those profits of, I think the profits are $1, because the t-shirts are so cheap. Or you can send me comics or stuff you want me to look at in my P.O. box. Guys, I will see you all next episode. Oh, I want to look at Perigrine. Now, here's the thing. I want to look at it because this cover image is so dope. I don't know who these people are arguing with. One of the guys on there doesn't like me for some reason and blocked me. That's fine. I'm not gonna like argue with people over things I consider nothing. So I'm not just. It's just not a big deal if you don't like me, or some people, whatever. Back to comics you want to back. We don't have to all agree on every single freaking issue to still want to see good projects. And this is obviously a great cover art. And it was Perigrine Wings of the Falcon. I'll put the link down below. It's just by Graded Point 5. They did do a live stream. It's pretty funny. So check them out. Check out this. Guys, I will see y'all next episode.